Am I the a-hole for pointing out to my boyfriend that I make more money than him? Am I the a-hole for telling my dad to go back to his white family and leave me alone? Am I the a-hole for canceling my childcare agreement with my friend after she called me an idiot for not taking money from my ex? My female 26 boyfriend, male 28, are on the same page about getting married and having kids later next year. But recently, he always jokes around about me only wanting to marry him to take half of his assets when we get divorced, etc., etc. Two of his close friends went through all that, and I understand where his concerns are coming from. I always explain to him calmly that I don't get married to get divorced, or sometimes I just laugh at him. I love him to bits, and I let him know that I don't want this issue to become a bigger problem someday. Even I suggest prenups, but he doesn't believe in prenups. He said, I still could get more money, especially if we have children together. And now it happens more often, and sometimes he said it with serious face, afraid that he will be left with nothing if we don't work out. Today he did it again, and that was the last straw. I immediately snapped at him by saying, well, if that's the case, it should be me who should be worried since I make 3 times more than you. He just went quiet and he went outside. I sat down thinking maybe I was a bit harsh on him. Was it an offensive thing to say to a man? Am I the a-hole?
I mean, you never really know how someone is going to act in a breakup. Heartbreak makes people act crazy and act out of character. Add to that the fact that people can change a lot as they get older, and you should always get a prenup just in case. No, you can't know 100%, but there are clues on terms of how they act in general when things aren't going their way. If they lose their shit with waiting staff when their dinner is slow or the order is wrong, if they regularly fall out with colleagues or their boss, if they are mean to family members. They may be nice to you when the relationship is going well, but if you see them being shitty to people when things are going wrong, it's a strong sign they will be shitty with you if your relationship goes wrong. This 100%. This is exactly how my ex was. He was nice to me at first, but he was always on the outs with his friends and family. He couldn't hold a job because he was always stirring up shit with his bosses and co-workers, and he generally just treated everyone in his life like shit. When our relationship moved out of the honeymoon phase, he started treating me like shit too, and when we finally broke up, he made my life hell. I'm honestly glad I didn't marry him because trying to divorce him would have been so much worse. I think his comment about the kids shows some of that character, but if we get divorced and have kids, you would still get money out of me, obviously. If you have kids, you are going to keep financially supporting them. He's more worried about his money than all other aspects of his life, and arguably not ready to be a father. But the thing is, most people who are terrible and petty and vindictive during a divorce aren't acting out of character. They've been terrible, petty, vindictive people all along. They've behaved that way in every fight you've had, with every friendship that's ended, every job they've left. Additionally, most adults have had prior relationships before their marriage. Not all, of course. There are still people who marry the first person they date. But generally, the person you're marrying has gone through at least one breakup, and you can see/hear about how they manage that. If you marry a guy who thinks every one of his previous girlfriends was crazy, you should know going in that he's going to be an asshole if you break up and call you crazy. If you marry a guy who can have a pleasant conversation with his ex when you run into her at a wedding or party, then you can guess he'll be able to handle an amicable breakup. This is sound advice. Before I bought a house with my boyfriend, now husband, we had a contract made of what would happen with the house if we split up. He paid the deposit, so he'd get that back first, then we'd 50-50 the rest. It's all well and good thinking you'll stay with someone forever, but practically people change. Thankfully we're still happy, but to know that you are both there to treat each other fairly from the beginning is so important. This is great advice. Sounds weird, but it's part of why I felt so confident marrying my husband. I truly believe that if we should ever break up, he wouldn't fuck me over. We almost broke up 5 years into dating, and even with things being rather contentious at the time, he was still very assuring that I wouldn't have to move out of his home immediately, and when I was ready he would help me get into a new place. He's just that person. He doesn't burn bridges, and he doesn't like to see others struggle. Obviously I hope we never divorce, lol, but I don't really worry about the details should that happen, especially now, when I make more than him.
Second story. I'm not a hole for telling my dad to go back to his white family and leave me alone. My dad is white and he married a white woman after he left mom. He had 2 kids with her. My mom and dad had joint custody and things were pretty shit. My stepmom is racist. She wanted me to be white. I am half Asian and I don't pass as white. She frequently joked about my parentage. She lied to others that I was adopted. She made me feel like a freak in so many different ways, and my father just watched on and ignored it. My mom got me out of there when I was 15. My father hasn't really been in my life since. It has been 2 years and my dad suddenly realized that he has another daughter too. This asshole is trying to contact me. He came home a few times and mom lets him in. He is trying to apologize and I don't want anything to do with him. He wanted a white family and he has one. I don't want to pretend like I have a dad or shit. I don't. He came over this Sunday and I straight up told him to go back to his white family and to leave me alone. I told him that I hated him and his wife. I didn't even like my half siblings. I don't consider them family, and I never wanted to see him. And he already had that picture perfect white family that he wanted. He didn't say anything, and he ended up leaving. He hasn't tried to reach out again. I am okay with that. My mom thinks I was too harsh with him. I know I was really harsh. I was. I wanted to hurt him. I really wanted to yell at him and make him hurt his feelings. I think that makes me feel an asshole. I did it just to hurt his feelings.
NTA, you have every right to feel hurt and are entitled to your feelings. They are valid, don't let anyone tell you that they aren't. But there is more to it than that. Rage and anger are temporary and give way to trickery, more complicated feelings more often than not, driven forward by trauma and pain. In my personal experience, I've picked up a few understands of things. Someone can try to seek forgiveness. We as people must work it out within ourselves to forgive them. Whether it be because you want to, or because you need to do it for your own sanity. I'm not saying you should forgive him now, but eventually I think it would be good to either re-examine it a while down the line, or find a therapist to talk it over with. Something that should also be noted is that forgiveness does not mean you have to let him back into your life. You can acknowledge that he has wronged you and that, if he has genuinely come to terms with that and is trying to make it right, he has apologized. But that doesn't mean you have to let him into your life. Don't let your anger overtake you. It can destroy you before you realize. I've seen this mantra, forgive for your own sake, but it's not necessarily true and does not work to heal everyone. Forcing myself to forgive people did not help me. Allowing myself to be angry, to actually hate someone for the trauma they caused, was what gave me peace. Knowing that I never have to forgive someone for what they did to me helped me deal with my trauma. I worked hard on my self-respect enough to hate the person that traumatized me. I don't think hate has to be something evil and consuming. Everyone is different. Op could find solace in forgiveness, or they could find solace in allowing themselves to hate their dad. Whatever they need to just be okay with their life. I agree so much with this. I hated myself for so many years for being abused and having a shitty family. It wasn't until I realized what they did was wrong and awful that I could actually start to heal. My therapist told me that was good. Anger is an action emotion, with it you can make changes. And I changed. I stopped hating myself. I stopped thinking it was all my fault. I put the blame where it belonged. I refused to forgive, because for 25 years all I did was forgive, suppress and swallow everything that was done to me. Forgiving came easy. It wasn't what I needed to do though. I needed to get angry. Refuse to play nice. Put up boundaries. Anger is fine. Anger can drive action. Anger can be what we need, and forgiving can be part of the abuse cycle. NTA. No one gets to force you into have a relationship with anyone, family or not, until you are ready. If you are ready at all. Your sperm donor doesn't get to allow you to be treated like garbage by a racist, not say anything, which means he's perfectly okay with that racism, and then suddenly decide that it's water under the bridge, that he wants to be a father to you again. What you said are your true and authentic feelings, and if he's upset/hurt by that, well, maybe he shouldn't have been an asshole to you. You don't get to treat people like they don't matter and expect fences to be mended on your own terms. NTA. Maybe you are harsh, but it's also harsh to allow your spouse to abuse your kid because she's a racist piece of sh! You wanted him to experience some of the pain and rejection you experienced with them before getting out of your life forever, and I get that. Your feelings are justified in this, but I do hope you are also receiving some support and perhaps counseling for what you experienced.
Third story. I'm at a hole for canceling my childcare agreement with my friend after she called me an idiot for not taking money from my ex. I have a childcare agreement with my friend, which is basically I watch her son on Thursday and Friday for a few hours, and she watches mine every other Saturday or whenever I need an emergency babysitter. As of yesterday, I canceled our agreement even though she wouldn't have time to make other arrangements. The reason I canceled it was because she called me an idiot for refusing to take the money my ex is trying to force on me and trying to get me to change my mind and wouldn't give up after I asked her to talk about something else. This is a sensitive subject for me because my ex abandoned me and our son when I told him I was pregnant. But now he's had a change of heart and is trying to pay his way back into our lives. My friend's husband is close friends with him, so he told them that I ripped up the check he tried to give me in front of his face. My friend was berating me for being so hasty and not accepting his olive branch. I get so mad at her, and I told her I didn't want to speak to her for a while, and she would need to make other childcare arrangements for the foreseeable future. My friend has been begging me to consider, and even her husband has been contacting me to apologize on her behalf. But I am not planning to go back to our old agreement. At least, not until I can get things sorted out with my ex. Amadi Aho.
NTA. You might be able to create a co-parenting relationship with your ex over time, but that is entirely your journey to navigate. If your friend wants to give you advice, if it were me, I'd take it, etc., that's fine, but berating and passing judgment on your situation is really not her place. It's not foolish if by taking the money he will push more and more. We don't know what would happen if she takes it. If she really needs the money, she needs to go through court. But that means the husband can get partial custody. I think she is smart and nip it in the bud. Also, if he wanted to lessen her struggle, he should have been helping since the beginning, not when he had an epiphany and wanted to play family. NTA. She had no right to push her opinion on you once you'd made it clear you didn't want to discuss it. As a third party, she has no real idea what went on between you and your ex, other than what she has heard. She shouldn't be making any judgments about a situation so wholly unconnected to her. I would also be extremely hesitant to allow my child around them unsupervised, as they would very likely allow your ex to have contact with your child without your consent. They clearly believe that he has a right to a relationship with your child and that you are being unreasonable, even if they are now apologizing in order to get their own benefits back. What is to stop them having your ex over when they babysit? Nothing. They have shown whose side they're on, and it's not yours. Ending the friendship may not be where this goes, but having this hard boundary is essential. Protect yourself and your child, and let them figure something else out for childcare. I will never understand people who think they can degrade someone who is helping them, and then be shocked when that help is rescinded. If there was some sort of trauma around your ex and now you don't trust her or her partner, I wouldn't want them watching my kid either. Mostly because I'd be scared they let the ex over to see the baby. So I'll say NTA I would probably offer to watch their kid one more week, but I wouldn't let my kid over to their place.